Oh, I am a huge fucking nerd. That's right, I'm a huge fucking nerd. I like lots of books and computers, 'cause I am a huge fucking nerd.
One-of-a-kind shades made to order by Vaporshades.com. Vaporshades designs the outer layer of the sunglasses just like a wrap on a car. They customize your sunglasses, marbling to paint. The end result is no two pair of sunglasses are alike. Yours will be completely unique to you. Check us out at Vaporshades.com. Use promo code Tuddle for 15% off your entire order. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Vaporshades Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Welcome to another edition of the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. Check out my website, Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with two D's, Tuddle.net. There's two ways to be able to get a hold of the show. You can email me, Tuddle@gmail.com, or you can leave me a voicemail, 407-270-3044. Once again, that is 407-270-3044. So yesterday I had my monthly, stab-in, per se, on a Mediocre time with Tom and Dan. A lot of people don't realize this. Me, Daniel, and Tom, also known as Drunky when he was on Real Radio 104.1, we worked together for quite a long time. And I've been coming on their show, and like I said yesterday, they're actually doing me a big-time favor by allowing me to come on their show once a month to be able to plug the Tuddle Daily Podcast. And I do see a big jump in downloads, streams, subscriptions right after I've been on their show. And I was on there yesterday, and we had some really great conversation. I think I was on maybe about 45 minutes. But this is one of the conversations we got into, and it's one of my biggest fears that's always been in the back of my mind. I still have fears that I have a child
with who?
Down in Fort Myers.
Oh, yeah.
He went down. Just letting you know, I had to pull this audio from their YouTube page, and I hate how I look when I do live interviews over like Zoom, and then I have to watch it on YouTube because I am hideous. I mean, I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in my life, but man, oh man, what happened? I mean, it sucks getting old, and I know that I'm not old, just turned 40, but goddamn, man, like, what happened? It is so weird looking at myself, and I know everybody likes to say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but the way my brain works, I'm like, ooh, how were you ever married to somebody as attractive as your ex-wife? It just blows my goddamn mind. For a Real Radio event. This was before Drunky or Tom was on.
This is when you were putting down that Fort Oscar Mayer. That big wiener.
So this is another thing that goes around perspective or reality. Tom and Dan always made the jokes, and the reason that they made these jokes is that right before, I think, my wedding, Russ gave me an opportunity to make some money, but we had to go out to a nudist colony that was an advertiser of the radio station, and I had to get nude in front of everybody. And, back then, we didn't film a lot of stuff, but I was like a method actor on the air, so I got completely nude. And I guess Tom Van Drunky was telling me, oh, man, Tuddle's got a big hog. And I'm not saying that I'm bad, but, man, like, I got to tell you, listen, I'm definitely not complaining at all that Drunky did. You want me to be honest? I probably should have scratched a check for a G-ball right on Drunky's lap. I should have been here, man, because I got to tell you, because that was the running gag on the show. And like I said, look, I'm above average, but not to the point that they were putting me over on my unit. But I gotta thank you, Tom. It wasn't until today. I've always appreciated you did that for me, but goddamn, man, you really blew me up there on that one. So it was the one time, because I am always OCD. I will not go without protection, and you know, like
you always got your revolvers on you.
Yes, but I didn't at that time, and it was me, because I went away with 3 random monster listeners. It was another couple, and I'm in the back seat with the other one, and we're fooling around, and they're like egging her on, like, yeah, that's Tuddle, yeah, and I'm like, I'm a nobody, guys. I couldn't go into a lot of detail, but yeah, that's the God honest truth. I went away with 3 other random people, could have easily like murdered me, sold my organs on the black market, whatever it may be. But yeah, I was in the backseat, in the middle of the backseat. The chick was straddling me while she had her hands down my pants and was kind of like masturbating me. Well, not master, because she was jacking me off, basically. And then I was down in her pants doing the digital manipulation type deal. Yeah, so it was kind of weird, because the one girl in the passenger seat was watching and the guy was driving, but they were like cheering everything on. And I'll get into it. I explain a little bit more, but I'll give you a little bit more of a graphic detail whenever I can stab in. And it was me and her on a blow-up single bed mattress. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the most white trash sexual experiences that I have ever had, because after I got done,
hillbilly
a certain member of the show called me, Tuddle, where you at? And it's more of a female voice, if you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was one of 2. I know now.
Okay, but
at one point
there
was crossover where you couldn't tell.
I wish that I could get into detail about what happened the rest of that night, and I'm going to protect people's images. There's a lot of things that I saw, but I will tell you about how I was responsible to drive a monster member from Fort Myers back to Orlando, because they didn't think that this person was capable of doing that. We're not talking about the same night of partying. We're talking about the next goddamn day, people. And if you don't hear me talk about it in the near future, if you could remind me, tell the story about driving a monster home from Fort Myers to Orlando. And by monster, I mean, that's what we called ourselves. We were the monsters in the morning. And the members were monsters. So I had to drive a radio show member when I worked in Orlando back from Fort Myers to Orlando. And I swear to God, I will tell you the complete God honest truth, and you still will not believe it. I promise you that. Yeah, but what I'm saying, though, is that I was always worried that I could get a phone call any day. But like, hey, guess what, Patrick? You are a father. And like, what am I going to do? I'm not moving down to Fort Myers.
No, but
I remember.
That was so, I mean, the kids would be almost 18 now.
Yes.
Yeah. So like what, the kids would be like 12, 13, so really like maybe 5 years.
I mean, you missed all the hard part. Now you get the fun stuff.
What if it's cool?
Teach them how to fish.
Oh, yeah.
But what if,
take them out in your kayak and yell at people in the intercoastal.
But what if I was that weird, awkward dad? Like, he signs his, like, he's like a great baseball player or a football player, and I'm like, I meet him at one of his big media days, and I'm like, I'm your dad. Hey, help me out.
Don't say it like that.
I'm your dad.
Well, that's what it, yeah.
Seriously, guys, listening back to that, I have never acted a day in my life, but goddamn, that little thing that I did is every single deadbeat dad that went to the market to get cigarettes and never came back, and then they see that their son is famous. Yeah. That's how pathetic I am. I nailed that character.
You would, if your kid ended up being famous, you know, you start showing, you know, like.
Yeah, you take his Olympic medals around to every Cuban sandwich restaurant in Orlando, just like Shaq's dad did. He's like, look, my son is an Olympian, and he's showing the medal at Cuban sandwiches to go on Lee Road so he could get a free cafe con leche.
I've talked about this. I'm still getting my bearings back with me when it comes to the Orlando area. I mean, a lot of people forget that I was in Tampa the last 10 years, but the 10 previous years before that, I was in Orlando. But if you're ever in the vicinity of downtown Orlando, do yourself a favor. Go visit Cuban Sandwiches to Go on Lee Road. It is the Mecca. If you are a fan of Cuban sandwiches, do yourself a favor. Like I said, go there. It is on Lee Road. It does get busy around lunchtime, but that should show you that the locals know where to get the best Cuban sandwiches. I know everybody says Miami, and you would expect that. And I'm sure Miami has the greatest Cuban sandwiches. I know that Billy Corbin, I follow him on Twitter. He's the documentarist that did the U movies, Cocaine Cowboys, Screwball, all of the sports documentaries. He claims that Miami is the best when it comes to Cuban sandwiches. But I say, I will pick Cuban Sandwiches to Go on Lee Road up against anything that Miami has to offer.
Okay, what if because Tuddle was a good athlete, a good baseball player back in the day.
Probably still can wing it.
I get why people don't believe that I was a baseball player, but I played 4 years, varsity baseball. Really didn't start my first season, but second, third, and fourth, oh yeah. And I did play a little college ball. I really didn't get any playing time because, like an idiot, I was partying. I didn't stretch up and warm up one day, and I basically just destroyed my pitching arm. And I've thrown a little bit here and there, but I have never gone full speed off of a mound since that day that I hurt my arm. Probably like 2000, maybe 1999, 2000 was the last time that I threw 100% as hard as I could, like I was pitching in a game off of a mound. That's how long it's been. That's how bad I messed up my arm and how much I never, ever wanted to be in that position again.
So what if by some means of like genetic, maybe the redneck that he banged that night, her dad was a good athlete. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so like perfect genes come together, and now you've got this kid, and the kid's 15. He's a star baseball player.
You blanked Wade Boggs' daughter.
No, so let's think about this, Tuddle, because there could be a scenario where you got this 15 to 16-year-old kid. He's a star baseball prospect. He's going to make it to the big leagues or whatever.
I make this next statement realizing that nobody at all, no matter how old or what age they are, should ever take advice from me. But I really do think that it would be crazy. I think I would be good for the kid, even though if I did for some reason have a bastard son somewhere that was a badass baseball pitcher or a hitter, it had a chance to be in the Major League Baseball. You got to admit that would be a pretty badass baseball movie. I always love baseball movies. Nobody does baseball movies better than Kevin Costner. But could you imagine that dad that hooked up with his mom back in the day? The mom didn't tell him that she was pregnant and he had a son, and then the father comes back into the kid's life. The kid makes it to the majors. The dad's trying to reconcile with his famous Major League Baseball pitching son. My God. I mean, the script basically and practically writes itself.
And then you start seeing him on the news, and you're like, he's from Fort Myers. You start putting two and two together. He looks like you.
Yeah, and he's
got a humongous head.
I thought we did a great job today on the game, and I hope to win again. And, come on, guys.
You're like, oh, my God.
You're like, holy ass.
That's my son.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, setting up that piece of audio from my appearance on Tom and Dan yesterday, the guys, I absolutely love being on their show. I mean, they make me laugh harder and longer than any other radio show out there. The guys just get it. They don't like to get into the controversial stuff. They're great to their audience. They respect and they appreciate their audience. So what else could you want? Give them a chance. Check them out if you haven't already checked them out. It's a Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the iTunes podcast app. It's pretty much found every single place that you can imagine. So I just want to throw out a big thank you to Tom and Dan for having me on their show. So check it out. I'm going to take a quick break, but when I come back, I'm going to be talking to Marianne from New Zealand, who was abducted by aliens. Now, guys, I'm just warning you, this interview is going to get crazy. And I'm going to ask as many outrageous questions as I can during the interview and to see if I can even throw her off. Because a lot of people, people think that people can lie. But if you're not a great communicator and you can't think on your feet and you got to think about details, then you're basically lying. Because if it really, 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 really happened to you, you would be able to call it like it was yesterday. So I'm going to throw out a lot of BS questions just to see how quickly and how much detail she goes into all of her answers. You're listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Be back in a few minutes, guys.
He's a nerd,
I've only been arrested one time.
a radio personality,
Professionally, I'm not in the best position that I've ever been in.
and hot talk satirizer.
You would think with everything that's going on, a Caucasian like myself wouldn't be able to randomly talk to an African American or a minority.
You're listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Wish you could have just flown and had your vehicle arrive a day or two later so you can enjoy more time doing what's important to you? Well, you can. Just give Starfire Transport a call. Let the professionals do the driving while you're flying. Starfire Transport specializes in RV and auto transport. They'll also haul watercraft from boats to PWCs, cargo trailers, and more. Service available throughout the continental United States. So don't wait. Call Brian today at 574-349-4193 or 989-751-6106 for your next move. 10% off for veterans past or present. Also, make sure to tell them Tuddle sent you for an additional discount. That's Starfire Transport.
Welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. It's getting a little dark out here, so I may have to turn my little light on. I'm actually outside, but my next guest, I've actually been looking forward to this. You guys all know that I am a space nerd. If I walked out to the water right now, you could see the Vehicle Assembly Building at Kennedy Space Center right now. That is how close I am to our space program here in the United States. But my next guest, Marianne, is joining me all the way from New Zealand right now, and I cannot even imagine what time. It might not even be the same day. I think they might be in the next day. Marianne, am I right or wrong? Like, what time is it? Are you still on the same day, or is it the next day?
The next day. We're from your future.
Okay, so what time is it there right now?
It's 11:33 in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right. So wait a minute. So I'm still on the same day to you technically for another 7 minutes, I think.
So
11:30. 11:33, you said?
11:33 a.m. It's Thursday, the 14th of January here.
Oh, it's all okay. I got you. Okay. So now, Marianne, tell people before we get into it, because I've been doing a lot of research and what you were talking about highly piques my interest. Marianne, if people want to check out all of your content, a website, books, any of that stuff, how can they check you out?
I have my own podcast called Walk in the Shadowlands, which is on any podcasting platform. I have a website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com, which is the podcast website. On my podcast, I do talk about my experiences when appropriate in various episodes. I'm also have a Facebook page, Walk in the Shadowland, Instagram feed of the same name, Twitter feed at Shadowlands10.
Now, okay, before we get started to it, I'm a silly American, okay, but I know a lot. Like I research and I'm interested in other countries. I got to tell you, can you guys give us Jacinda Ardern, because I really like her. Like, you know, I'm like, man, why couldn't she have been an American? We would not be dealing with all these problems right now.
Yeah, it's really hard for you guys. Jacinda's done a remarkable job. Now, this is a prime minister, and I don't talk politics generally, but I really admire her. She came into power when she was pregnant, gave birth.
And that had to be good. That had to be big for women's rights and stuff, to show that this powerful woman that's in charge of the country can be pregnant and still be able to fulfill her duties. And I'm like you, I don't get into politics as well too, but I got to give credit where credit's due. And I think she's done a fantastic job, as well as the handling of COVID. I don't think you guys have really, I think you're not even dealing with COVID right now, are you?
Not really. In New Zealand, life's really gone on pretty much as normal. We go to the beach, we have weddings, we have funerals. We do have, for people returning to the country, there is managed isolation for 2 weeks. But really, we have no community cases of COVID at all.
So tell people a little bit about what your specialty is now, because I'm interested. Now, you talk about aliens and stuff like that. Is there a lot of UFO alien type sightings down in New Zealand? Because we have our hotspot here in the United States, which is, around the desert area, California. Everybody thinks of Area 51 or whatever they call it. Is New Zealand known for that type of stuff? Is there a lot of activity there?
Yes, we have a lot of activity in New Zealand. It's pretty much worldwide. There's no specific areas. And New Zealand's not a huge country. It consists of a couple of islands. They would fit into California easily. But there's no specific area. It's just all over New Zealand, really. But now, it's all over the world.
Now, okay, so the reason I ask is that, I've always thought about this. If aliens were trying to believe in other life besides our own, as vast and big as the whole universe, galaxy, just our galaxy alone, we're talking about billions of planets. We're talking about billions of suns and stuff, and the odds of there being intelligent life form out there. Do you feel that way? Like, I really, really do. I've never had a personal experience, but I am an odds guy. I'm a realist. And I believe that people have visited here before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt for me that life exists outside of this planet. No doubt at all. I've been an experiencer my entire life. And for me, having interaction with star people, which is what I call them, I started calling them star people as a child because they were people from the stars. So it was just, they just became star people, and that's what they've been ever since. Yeah, life exists outside of here, there's no doubt.
Okay, so what I want to ask you, if a bunch of aliens come here, just not like a reconnaissance or an expedition, them checking things out, are they going to come in peace? Are they going to be violent? Are they planning on it? Like, what do you think?
There's a lot of fear-mongering put out, and Hollywood has a lot to do with that. Aliens invading. If they were going to invade us, they would have done it by now. They've been here as long as humanity is.
Let me, what do you think? Because I do read a lot of stuff, and we went to straight audio because I'm having a bad connection, and I can just use the audio. So that's fine. So it'll be a lot easier, and I think the connection will get better. But my question, something that I've always believed in, okay? I don't know. Are you a religious person, Marianne? And if you don't feel okay, so the reason that I ask is, a lot of people do not believe in evolution, all right? But I believe in evolution, but I go a step further. I think our creator, in my opinion, and I could be way off basis, I think we are descendants of alien life form. I know that movies have done this before, but I really do think we were descendants of aliens, or we're a middle school aliens science project. Like, that's my opinion. Like he's trying to show off. Look at what I built. I built the best terrarium in the Milky Way galaxy.
Right. Well, I will give you my 9. My 9 is that humanity is a created species.
Mm-hmm.
We were genetically created by a specific group of beings for their own purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Largely, initially, it was to be as a slave race for them, to do manual labor, things that they didn't want to do.
So what you're saying is that we could have easily been a slave race, but then we were such dicks as a human species, we enslaved our own people. So it's, it's kind of weird way to look at it, but I could easily see that.
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying what you're saying. I'm just saying I was making a statement that it's if we were a slave race, that you would think that we would have sympathy, but no, what we did is actually enslave our own people. We were slaves of slaves of slaves.
Got you. Well, the thing is, there's a woman I really admire in American history, and that's Harriet Tubman.
Oh, okay.
That's her name.
Yes.
As a child, I really admired her courage and her strength. She made a comment. She made a statement one time about freeing enslaved people, and she said that she could have freed so many more if only they had recognized that they were enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
That's paraphrasing the quote. Most of humanity does not realize that this is the situation that we're in, that we were in. We think that we're free people. We think that we can make our own decisions. But there are people pulling the strings, so to speak.
Okay, so what I want to ask, so I have so many questions because, it's nice to be able to have a great conversation with somebody that knows what they are talking about. I've been seeing a lot of stuff, and what do you say to the people like the Great Pyramids and stuff? I've looked at it, and it's almost virtually impossible how exact they were on their measurements of everything, all the things that go into it. And I don't think a lot of people realize. I think the longitude, latitude of the Great Pyramids is actually the speed of light. Is that a misnomer, or is that like truth or false?
I can't speak to the
I know. I've read that.
Yeah, I've read that too, but that's way out of my area of knowing. I can speak about my experiences with star people. I can speak.
Yes, I want to. Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna get to that, but and I didn't mean to throw you off with that question, but I know a lot of people think that. But your experience with star people, why star people? Why not call them aliens? Is there a certain reason why you call them star people?
Yes, because I started having experiences when I was a wee kid, and they were people from the stars. So they just became star people.
At what age was your first experience? And give me just a little bit of what the experience was. Did they visit you through your mind? Did they visit you in a physical form? Did you just get an audio response? Explain a little bit.
Okay, so there's two things that happened when I was very little. One, when I was 18 months old, and I have a clear recollection of it. I found myself outside my locked parents' home. It was night, and I was crying. My parents couldn't find me. They could hear me crying, but they couldn't find me. They'd put me to bed in my cot, and they found me outside the locked house. They have no explanation how that happened.
Okay.
And that's, I know that that was the first time that they brought me back, and they deliberately did that. So it was a base memory I would have. Then my next recollection that I have is around 3 years of age. My father used to be a share milker in New Zealand, and that is
Wait. I'm sorry for my American audience. Can you explain what your father did? It was a word that maybe my American listeners might not understand. That you said your dad did for a living.
Yes, share milker. I was just about to explain what that was.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have jumped to. I'm sorry. I just I do a lot of interviews. My bad. Now I feel like an idiot. Go on.
So it's okay. It's absolutely okay. So a share milker is the person who has a number of cows and he works with a farmer. I think I'm explaining this correctly. And he milks his own cows and he milks the farmer's cows as well. So they share.
Okay,
milk.
so he's basically a dairy farmer type
Yeah,
person.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So go ahead and keep going. You were explaining your next experience.
So we lived on a dairy farm out at the back of Te Kowhai, which is an area in kind of central North Island, sort of central North Island. And in those days, it was when you were out in the country, you were out in the country. There were very few street lights. The roads were all gravel, that sort of thing.
Hey, where you were at, where you grew up, I talk a lot about this light pollution. Growing up, I can only imagine in New Zealand, maybe where you were living at, the night sky had to be absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, absolutely. No light pollution. No light pollution where I lived as a kid. None whatsoever, except for our house light.
Yeah. But so as a dairy farmer, a lot of people knew him and stuff. And go ahead. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's all good. So in the car was my half older sister, my older sister, and myself. I was around 3 years old. And my mum and dad were in the front seats. Dad was driving. Now, we were going down this country road to the farm, and there was this light behind us. We just assumed it was a car. Of course, we were quite excited because we really saw other cars on the roads. And it followed us all the way to the farm. And then when we turned off to go to the farm, down to the main gates, which were shut, this light just shot up vertically, and it just shot up. And that's when we realized that it wasn't another car, it was a strange light. Anyway, my parents thought it had gone, so they drove down to the gate and they were about to open it, and all of a sudden this light is above us, and coming from this light is this huge white beam that totally surrounds the car, like you see on the TV movies, if you ever saw
So
it.
even your parents saw it?
Oh, yeah, everybody saw it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Everybody experienced it. And mum and dad, my sisters were crying. Mum and dad were like arguing in the front. Daff, you go and open the gate. Oh, I'm not getting out of the car, Leo. You go and open the gate. Because they had to open the gate so they could get to the house to get to safety. So good safety. Anyway, I was the only one that wasn't scared. I was excited because I knew it was my friends.
Yeah, they were coming back to visit me.
Yes. And then in the light around the car, you could see these figures. The light was very, very bright. So you couldn't make out features, but you could see the outlines, the heads, the shoulders.
Kind of like a shadow and a light almost. So you could almost see an outline almost.
Yes. And you could see them moving around, and mum and dad were absolutely terrified. And that's the last thing I remember.
Okay, so those figures, if you had to guess, I mean, there's no way of telling, were they actually physical beings, or was it like, I don't know, maybe like a hologram, or they just wanted to come and observe you? Maybe when you were a baby, when they brought you outside, I'm not saying they tagged you, but maybe they were coming back to see what kind of progress. Maybe they're like wanting to check you out and see what the human life is about. Does that make sense? Or do you think I'm off basis?
No. You're heading in the right direction. No, absolutely. No, they were real figures, not holograms. They were real physical type beings moving around. I would say I was probably tagged, because how do they keep track of you otherwise? It's like
Do Do you have any like unique birthmarks or anything that, like what I'm saying is, of course, it's not going to be a tag that has numbers or something on it. It would be something we wouldn't even notice.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe it's inside of you. Maybe it's like a chip or something that they can, when they came down, they surrounded that light around your parents' car when you were younger. Maybe that's how they were able to keep up with you. Who knows?
Um, yeah, and they use the tag to read energies. I remember one time, oh gosh, probably close to 2000, I guess. I My ear started feeling funny. It felt like there was cotton wool, not inside my ear, under the skin in my ear.
Okay.
And it really felt weird. It felt like it was moving. It felt like it was cotton. And I realized that during one of the later visits, they'd put something in there. And I said, because I verbally speak to them all the time, or, in my mind, I said, hey, you guys, there's something wrong with whatever you've put under my skin because it's annoying me and I feel it. And I felt it for 2 or 3 days. And then after I said that, the next day when I woke up, it stopped and I had no more of that, but I did have a little bit of blood in my ear.
Okay, so 2 questions. Did I hear you correctly saying that they do talk to you still, or they were talking to you then? And 2, could that have been like an alien bug? Not bug as like, what I mean by bug is that they're listening to you. It would only make sense that they would put a listening device in your ear.
Oh, well, I don't know what it was, whether it was a listening device or what it was, but it was something in it, and it felt like cotton wool, and I felt it moving, and they sorted it. When I say talk to them, it's telepathic. Most of my communication with them is telepathic.
Is it just audio or visual?
Oh, no, I've seen beings face to face. No, I've seen beings. Yeah, I have memories as a child of being taken onto a ship and finding myself in the only thing I can describe it as
in the physical form. You said that it's telepathically. Yes, okay, but you've been on a ship in the physical form then.
Yes, correct.
How was that being there in a physical form? I think we take granted our senses as humans because we get used to things and we don't have new sensual experiences. But I would have to imagine something like that would be a new experience. Like, was it cold? Was it sterile? Like, is it the stereotypical things that we see in movies? I would love to hear you describe your experience.
Well, it's been ongoing my entire life. Like I was saying, I found myself in this situation many times as I was growing up in what can best be described as a classroom, a learning environment where I was being taught things. Now, this happened from the time I was little all the way up. So I've never known any difference. So for me, it's always been comfortable. It's always been a place where I felt safe. I've never felt unsafe or experienced pain or anything like that.
Okay, so you're saying your experience on the spaceship was like a classroom setting type thing? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure of what you were saying there.
As a child.
As a child. Okay. All right.
As I grew up, I found myself in different classroom settings, and then as I was older, as I was more mature, I found myself teaching beings on the ships.
Okay, all right. That's interesting. So do you think okay. So I completely believe everything you're saying, but what I'm trying to say was, did it look like a classroom setting, like an Earth classroom setting? Because I'm asking that is, did the aliens, because I mean, they are a higher form of intelligence, and you would think, and you wouldn't be surprised that they could make what area you're in look like something familiar, like a classroom or something like that.
Correct. Absolutely. Whatever makes you the most comfortable, that's the setting that they will use.
Now, when you were teaching, do you think maybe, because you said you were a student in the classroom and then you were a teacher, do you think when you got to the point when you became the teacher is when they were teaching you things, but then when you got older, they wanted to hear about your experiences on Earth. They wanted to find out about the human race and stuff.
Correct.
Wow, that is
Absolutely
so
correct.
fascinating. Do you remember any of the things that you were telling them about planet Earth and the human race?
I don't. I don't. I only have snippets of memories. I remember being in
Do
this
you think
like
they're wiping your mind?
um not for any nefarious reason, no. Simply because I have to live in this reality.
Mhm.
And it's very hard. That's why I called my podcast Walking the Shadowlands, because it's kind of walking with one foot in this reality and one foot in the other
Yes.
reality.
You're towing the line between two, I mean, just anything, like two different types of groups of people or believers and non-believers, scientific and non-scientific. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's more a protection thing for me than a deliberate wiping of my information.
Um,
Like,
this is a curious question. How has your health been through all your life? Like, have you been a pretty overly healthy person? I'm just curious because I've always had this theory of people that have been visited by aliens. And I always had this hypothesis or theory that they were helping people, helping humans, and wanting to like invest in who they're studying. Does that make sense at all?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Mostly I've been really healthy. The only issues I have had are sinus issues, which is quite common with experiences. Um, I remember one time as a child, I had an accident, and I was up on a ship that night, and they actually healed me.
Wow, what was
Like,
wrong with you again?
well,
I'm sorry.
it was just a bike. I had a push bike accident. I fell off my
Uh-huh.
push bike and took a huge hunk, like a huge hunk of flesh out of my shin.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have taken, like 2 or 3 weeks to heal. It was that
Yes, of
deep.
course.
It was healed within a day.
Did your parents find that curious, or did they even notice?
They didn't even notice. They didn't think about it because they had other children to deal with as well.
Yeah, I could see that. And you know what though? I imagine growing up on a farm in New Zealand, it's not that your parents don't care, but I think they grew up and are like, oh, it was tough, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Walk it
yeah,
off. Keep
yeah.
calm, carry on. I know that's a British term. So, but back to what I was saying. What about your grades? Schooling and stuff like that was because I'm just asking. Maybe they gave you some type of extra intelligence. Were you above average all through school?
Um, well, there was a lot going on in my home life as a child, and it wasn't the
Yeah.
most pleasant home life.
I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to pry or anything.
No, no, no. So when I was at school initially, my grades weren't that great. And I always thought of myself as being dumb, even though I knew I wasn't. It was just like what was fed to me as a kid, And so I went back to university when I was in my 50s because I was a nurse and I'd had a back accident earlier and an accident and it had ended my nursing career. So I went back to university in my 50s to retrain as a computer graphic designer. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Well, it turns out I got a letter from the head of the university inviting me to join some international honors society because I was in the top 10% of the students at uni.
Oh.
So there's nothing wrong with my intelligence.
No, and I
No,
wasn't saying no.
that was for me. That was for me.
Okay, all right,
You
all right.
know.
So no, it's just these are all questions that I have, because this is what I think of when somebody has been visited or they've
Right.
had encounters with aliens. Are they just studying us? Are they giving us gifts to make the world better? So when was the latest time that you were visited by the space people?
face-to-face visitations, it's been a couple of decades since I last saw anybody, but they did tell me that this was going to be the case, that their exact words when they like to use human sayings when they can because they get a kick out of it.
Like what was some of the human sayings that can you remember any of those?
Well,
like
this one, don't feel you've been dropped like a hot potato.
I will see. I mean, Americans use that, and I'm glad to know that that's translatable in the New Zealand area.
Yeah. So that's what they said to me. Don't feel you've dropped like a hot potato. And he grinned because he knew that I would get a kick out of him using that term. But they were going to be exceptionally busy for the coming period. And of course, there is no time outside of this planet. A man-made construct.
Yes. Time is yes, it is. Time is completely made up. Okay, because like who decided, we're gonna go 12 months, we're gonna do 31 days here, we're gonna do 30 here. Right. Oh yeah, in February we're gonna do 28. And then we're gonna every 4 years we're gonna have a leap day because we didn't worry about those quarter things. So yeah, I mean, there could be all types of planets that they're already visiting right now because, I try to explain numbers. I think us as humans, have a hard time understanding large numbers, okay? Because everybody hears infinite. They think, infinite. Right. Oh, that's big, okay? So, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, okay? So for you to count like to 1 million, like 1 Mississippi, 2, I don't know. We do 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, because Mississippi is a state here, and saying Mississippi is about a second.
We do that here as well.
Okay, so to count to 1 million, they say that it would take you, this is off the top of my head, I forget, but it goes from like 31 years, and then if you skip to 1 billion, or no, it would take you 31 days to count to 1 million, okay? If you skip and count to 1 billion, 1 Mississippi, that is 31 years. Now, I mean, I don't think people realize that. So I'm counting to 1 million. That's going to take me 31 days. But if I skip to 1 billion, that is going to take me 31 years. And then skip that even further when you're talking about light speed. And numbers are just made up. Well, numbers are the language that it will reach everybody, no matter who they are, okay? But I just don't think people realize, yes, we're smart, but we are meaningless. Not meaningless, but we're not as important as we think we are, because humans have this thing where they're like, oh man, I'm so important.
Right.
And I didn't mean to get too philosophical on you there, but have the aliens ever like talked to you about that?
They find humans interesting. And they've mentioned to me on a number of times how humans like to categorize and put things in boxes. We have to label things. We have to put them in boxes. We have to put them here. We have to put them there. They have to have their places. And they find this endlessly fascinating.
Have they bestowed any knowledge upon you that what is the one thing that they've told you from their experiences that we would find kind of fascinating, or maybe not even understand? We were like, what does that mean?
The biggest thing that they've told me. Now, you've got to understand that there's different factions in the Star People. Before I go any further, just so you know.
Okay.
There are several different factions. One faction is a group that just watches and observes. They have no interaction with humanity. They don't care about us either way, but they don't actively interfere with us either.
They just observe, like Steve Attenborough that does the wildlife shows. You don't get involved. They're just, kind of doing commentary, maybe talking into a microphone and saying, oh, look at this stupid human walking into the convenience store or something. Oh, he's getting 87 octane instead of such and such. I could only imagine if that's the way that it was.
Yeah, there's just what, well, kind of. They just observe what's going on with the other star people as well, but they don't actively interfere with either side. Then there are the beings who currently work with your government who are not necessarily benevolent towards humans. And then there's the group that I work with, and I call them my team that I've worked with my entire life. These ones don't abduct humans. They don't experiment on humans. They don't do anything without explaining specifically what they're wanting to do and why it needs to happen. And
so kind of like teachers, kind of like they're bestowing knowledge upon you.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And they're more benevolent.
Okay, so you say star people. Are there like, I couldn't even begin to describe, but like here on Earth, we have men, we have women. Are there even sexes, or do you even know?
Oh, look, this is one of the things that I really struggled with for years and years and years. Yes, there are male, yes, there are female, but there's also beings that are neither. And those are the ones that I struggled with, and they would laugh at me because I honestly had the most difficulty getting my head around that there are these beings that are neither male nor female. They just are.
No, but we have that here, though. You know, transsexuals is a big thing right now.
That's not the same.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to make people kind of understand, you know.
Yeah. It would be more gender neutral, would probably be closest.
Do they have what we would call marriages here on Earth?
I never went into their social, I never studied their social things, because when I was there, I was always there learning or working or doing some specific assigned task. I was never just there as an observer. So it was always an interactive thing when I was there. I was always participating in something.
This could be a stupid question. I mean,
no stupid
listen,
question.
I don't look at, as a human being, like even growing up in the South in America, you would think, oh, he's some stupid hillbilly redneck. He must be racist. No, I'm not. I'm only asking this because I don't see color. I don't see religion. I don't see races. But do they, I mean, are there different type of star people? Not different type of star people, but different like looking skin color. They might be on the inside.
Oh, look, I don't know how many different, and I use this term because I don't know any other varieties of star people I've seen, species. I have seen a huge number, different skin tones, different skin color, different sizes, different shapes, humanoid in form but not humanoid features, ones that look just like us. You wouldn't know to pass them on the street that they weren't, except for they're taller and they're generally better looking as a rule. More physically perfect. No, there's so many different species.
Have they mentioned to you, and this is just curious, I'm not trying to get, have they talked about reproduction with you, like how they do that? Or do they live forever? Do they live forever? Are they organic?
I don't ever consciously recall talking to them about their reproductive processes. No, they don't live forever. There are some that we would perhaps regard as immortal simply because they age far more slowly, but they do age.
Have they talked about how they've gotten here? Like, is it through light speed? I mean, have they discussed, like, how do they get here?
Well, mostly I've seen them on ships, but there are some species that don't need ships to get around. They just travel by the thought.
Are they among us right now? And what I mean by, can they disguise themselves as other looking things?
There are some species that can disguise their true identities, so they don't scare you, because some of the species are very scary looking to us. Doesn't mean they're negative. They just so different looking.
We just wouldn't understand it because our
Correct.
brains as humans would not be able to wrap our minds
Correct.
around.
Correct.
Um,
So some can disguise their form. Yeah.
This is, man, I could sit here and talk to you forever. And I definitely want to have you on again, and I gotta definitely wrap this up. Has there, and maybe this is a way far out there question, has there ever been that you know of an alien human hybrid species? Like, have they tried to has there ever been a star person and human like conjoining? I don't even know if they even know the concept of marriage and stuff like that. Is there a human star person hybrid living among us somewhere?
I do know that those not on my team have a human hybrid program where they are creating hybrids. I'm not sure what their purpose is. I don't know what they do that for. My team doesn't do that because that's not
it's not their department.
Well, no, it's because generally this is done without a person's consent.
Oh, so okay, I got you. Now, man, I definitely want to talk to you again, but I do have to go. Tell people once again how they can check out any of your content, how they can get in touch with you, because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to the show have tons of questions. I hope you thought my questions that I asked today were good. At least I hope so, because I put a lot of thought into them.
They were great questions. No, it was a good conversation. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. You can, if you want to email me, you can email me at shadowlands@yahoo.com. That's just Shadowlands. My podcast is called Walking the Shadowlands. It's available on all free podcasting platforms, iHeartRadio, Amazon. It's everywhere. My Facebook page is called Walking the Shadowlands. Instagram is Walking the Shadowlands. Twitter is @Shadowlands10.
All right, you're talking about Instagram, and I know I said I wasn't going to ask any more questions, but on your Instagram, have you ever, not everybody's a drawer or anything, but like if you're not an artist, have you ever thought of going to like a policeman or something and getting them to do a sketch, like drawing, like sit in front of an artist and describe what you saw, or would you do that?
I'm an artist. I could do it myself.
Okay, all right. So I was just curious.
Yeah. No, I've never felt any need to do anything like that because I've never felt that I had to prove anything to anybody.
I'm not saying prove. I'm just saying your experience.
Just, like people say, tell me what they like. I don't never have had that need. It's kind of a validation for some people, and I've never needed that. I've always had the validation I need from my star people my entire life. So for me, yeah.
So without describing it, you don't have to tell me. Are what you see in the movies, what everybody says, can you give me at least what movie or TV show or artist has come the closest?
Well, it depends what species you're talking about. Of course, you see the typical greys with the big slanted eyes. That's close. Some of them are close, but there's many different varieties, species within the grey umbrella. So not all are the same, and not all are negative. So there's that type. My favorite beings are ones that are feline in appearance but humanoid. They have very soft, fine fur all over their body. I love them. They're just absolutely wonderful.
Well,
and I think that's why I love cats so much.
Yeah. Whoever knows, they might be a part of them. Maybe they're here spying on us the whole time, because that the Egyptians worship cats. So
and why do you think that was?
Yeah, it kind of fits together that Man, Marianne, I got to tell you, you just kind of blew my mind on that with the cat thing, because like the Egyptians, everybody has said there's no way they could have made the pyramids without the aliens. And yeah, they worship cats. And you're telling me that there were cat star people or cat-like star people, and you like cats. They could be here. They could be like their bugging or homing devices.
No, no, you wouldn't mistake them. These are very large beings.
Yeah, but these are small little cats. They're like, hey, we're going to put something that's kind of like us out there that the humans will love and welcome them into their homes, and they will not even know we're watching and listening to them the whole time.
That's a very interesting theory, and who knows?
But I mean, but everybody, cats for the most part stay inside. They never go outside. You give them a litter box and they just hang out there. They sit on your lap. Have you ever noticed like a cat will try to sit on your lap while you're on the phone? Because you want to know what? They're trying to eavesdrop on your conversation. That's exactly what it is. I figured it out. And you know what? You need to run with that right now.
Oh, that's great.
All right, Marianne, I enjoyed this conversation, and I want to have you on again soon to check up with you and get some updates, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed our conversation very much.
All right, Marianne, have a good night and be safe.
You too. Bye.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp.
Man, maybe I would have way more sex partners in my life if I just threw caution to the wind.
It's the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Tuddle's Daily Podcast is brought to you by StitchYouUp.com. For your embroidery, screen printing, vinyl, and direct-to-garment printing needs, visit StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up specializes in custom caps, shirts, decals, and anything you want to personalize. Whether it's one item or large orders, they can handle any size. Unsure about what you want? Let Stitch You Up help you with your logo design. Visit StitchYouUp.com or contact them, Eric@StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up. Definitely not your grandma's embroidery.
Last segment of the Tuddle Daily Podcast today. I apologize about that interview. I know that interview. Some of you might have thought it was bullshit. You're like, why are you wasting your time with this woman? But growing up, I was a fan of radio. Now, was I particularly excited about the things that Art Bell used to talk about? No. Art Bell, Coast to Coast? No. No. I really didn't care for it, but I respected his radio skills on the microphone, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to throw her as many questions, and no matter what you say, even if she is lying, which, I kind of believe her a little bit. How do you know that it didn't happen to her? Do you not believe in aliens? Because if you don't believe in aliens, then you and me cannot be friends. Because the possibilities of other life forms being out there, it's not if there isn't, it's just how many there are. I want to leave you, before I go, who knew that George Lucas, because I know a lot of people hated, absolutely despised the first 3 episodes of the 9-part trilogy of the Skywalker saga. That was episode 1 to, I think, 9. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So, Revenge of the Sith. Who would have known that George Lucas would have been so clairvoyant to be able to put this line in? Because this is why I love TikTok. I know a lot of people my age are like, why are you on TikTok? You don't feel weird with all the 18, 19, and maybe teenage years kids dancing and doing the Bust It Challenge? The Bust It Challenge is where all these chicks want to show off their ass. What they do is they dress nerdy and very, respectable, and then they wear the sluttiest thing they can, doing this little squat pose where, it accentuates the hip. I don't know if a lot of you guys, that is my favorite part of a woman, by the way. And I know this is going to sound weird when I say this, but the sexiest thing that a woman can do is be sitting on the toilet. Because if you look right there at the hip area, And this is not like I'm into bathroom sex or anything like that. No, I just like what a woman's hip looks like when she is sitting down on the commode or toilet, because they get that little crease where the leg meets with the torso. There is nothing better than that. Now, I lost my train of thought here. How did I go and get on TikTok to being a complete sexual predator talking about women sitting on toilets? Yes, now I remember. The reason I'm on TikTok is because I find some pretty good audio clips or drops that I might be able to use for production pieces. But this clip, somebody posted it, of the final battle between Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. You know, on that volcano planet where they're fighting on lava and stuff. Now, when you hear this clip, just remember that Anakin represents the Trump supporters. Obi-Wan represents America. And just hear it, and it makes a lot of sense, besides the part where they're talking about Sith lords and shit like that.
Don't make me kill you. Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy! If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
Now that I'm listening back to it, and I don't actually have the pictures, see, that is why memes and TV is the easiest form of communication when it comes to broadcasting. Because when you have something visual and you can see it, and they put where Anakin is, Trump supporters, and then they have Obi-Wan, the rest of America. Just listening to it now, it does not hit the same as watching the TikTok video, and I apologize for wasting your time. Hope you enjoyed today's show. God, I can't believe I'm going out on a low note. I hate doing that. I really, really hate doing that. Either way, hope you guys have a great day. Hope you're safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow.